A hot topic right now is the voice referendum, or voice to parliament. Now, there are some things that you may not know, particularly in Australia's history, which I endeavour to disclose to you, the Australian public. Now, in 1967, we had a referendum. However, it was nothing but deceit. They actually struck out clauses in that referendum in our Constitution. Those clauses are Section 51 and Section 127. If we then go and look at exactly what was struck out or removed from our Constitution, we begin to see where our government's true intentions lie. What was essentially done was disempower the sovereigns of this nation or continent. It imposed and created new unlawful legislation that would actually grant them unprecedented powers to make new changes over the sovereigns of this nation. What this would do was make it easier for them to dictate changes and laws that would attempt to govern and rule over our Indigenous Australians and us as we the people. They have tried to class First Nations peoples as citizens in their own country. This is unconstitutional, and this is the deceit, the trickery being played on us, the Australian public, again. You cannot class sovereigns as citizens in their own country. This is history repeating itself. You cannot class the people that belong to this land as citizens in their own country. This is what a constitution is for. This recognition of an Indigenous peoples was already supposed to have been implemented in 1967. Now, when they did this, the Constitution was not included in this referendum. So when they amended it, they did not tell the people what they did, which was strike out the First Nations peoples and their tribal rights. This is, again, inadvertently unconstitutional to begin with. They did not tell the First Nations peoples, or we the people, that they were going to class them as a race. See, they were never a race before this. They were rightful and constitutional sovereign owners of this land. This deceit was done so that we could make laws to govern their lives. This duplicitous, nefarious trickery being played on not only our Indigenous Australians, these First Nation peoples, but we, the people of Australia. We were duped too in the process. They are now attempting to double down on their lies and deceit before the rest of us are made aware of this. What this referendum did in 1967 was, in fact, give Torres Strait Islander peoples and PNG descendants citizenship. There was no communication with tribal elders, which is constitutionally upheld when needing to make changes pertaining to these peoples. And to do this, they use the younger generation who need money, who are easily persuaded and easily divided, bribing them and lying to them. The Australian people are protected only by the sovereignty upheld in our Constitution. Now, in 1973 is where the true deceit and deception lies. When Gough Whitlam and his government they never held a referendum when making this decision. What Gough Whitlam and his government did in 1973 was change us from being the Commonwealth of Australia to Australia. This may not seem like a big change, removing 2 or 3 words, however you want to put it. But what this change inadvertently did was steer us away from a constitutional government upheld by the Constitution and effectively turned us into a for-profit corporation acting as the government. This fraudulent corporation installed on this continent dictates every new legislation, regulation, statute, mandate, legal requirement. What this did was allow we, the people, to be indentured to our government, to pay our government's debts for their heinous money spending tactics, allowing them to spend more than they had, knowing that we, the people, were going to foot the bill. I say we go back to this 1973 change and tell them that we know. And if you want to run this country this way, it needs to be upheld by the Constitution of 1901, lawfully. If you want to do it, you got to do it the right way. This is a call to action to our PM. You must be truthful with the people, and we must hear their true agenda. We need in writing from our PM that he will not supersede anyone's sovereignty, nor take away from any rights or freedoms of any sovereign or Australian, nor take their land from the people. There are 2 types of sovereignty baked into our Constitution. Sovereign to your autonomy, sovereign to oneself, and then you have the sovereigns of the land, these Indigenous Australian people, which are the original descendants of this continent. We must start there and go back in history and start telling the truth. Telling the public the truth. Aussies, Australians have been led to believe that Aboriginal people are freeloading. However, these budgets in excess of $33.6 billion in the 2015 to 16 financial year alone, these people never actually see the money. It never gets to the hands of the people that need it, because it goes to line the pockets of the many different organisations, corporations and government agents who all look out for one another. This is by design for the governments and its strategic planners to focus on how to continually divide and conquer the people. This country has not been run by the Australian people since 1973. It is owned, run, and operated by foreign entities. It was changed from a Commonwealth of Australia to a for-profit corporation known as Australia. We are under control by a foreign entity, a foreign corporation. It is my duty to disseminate this information to the people and begin to stand up and fight for us and our people and our sovereigns and our Indigenous Australians. Everyone. Fight for our grandfathers who went to war. Fight for our future generations who are going to be living on this land. This is a call to our government to stop selling us out, selling our roadways, selling our hospitals, selling our police. The government no longer serve the people. The police no longer serve the people. Even those covered in white garments, known as doctors, no longer stand under their Hippocratic oath to the people.